everybody. Good afternoon. It is Jimmy Davis with Cleveland Stage Door, and I'm here with Stacy. Stacy, hello.
Hello, hello. So good to be here today with the one, the only Garrett Turner as our guest. Garrett, welcome to Cleveland Stage Door.
Hey y'all, thanks so much. Also, the theme song, yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
love
here
it.
for it.
I mean, it's a
It's
little bit of a bop, isn't it?
It's amazing.
A little bit of a bop. So, Garrett, you are currently playing Ike in Tina, which is coming to Cleveland very soon. So I hate to just jump right in, but tell us a little bit about your experience with this role in this production.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Let's jump right in. It is the craziest thing I've ever done and has been an absolutely extraordinary opportunity. This show, I was a fan of the show first. I saw it, the original Broadway cast in 2019. I sat on the front row. I saw Adrian Warren give one of the most incredible performances I will ever see in my life, and my spirit left my body. It was literally like, so to go from that moment to now being not just being in the show, but like playing the lead and getting to do it across the country for Tina's fans everywhere, and to get to honor her legacy, it
Mhm.
is incredible.
I have to say, I am just floored with this production and the names in this cast. I mean, you've got some pretty hard-hitting co-stars in this show, and you yourself have a wonderful resume that includes a little bit of time on Broadway, right?
Yes, that happened.
D-
Absolutely.
Don't just say that happened. This is Broadway. Like, be proud of yourself here. So, oh yeah, I did that one time. It's fine. So you were actually in the world premiere of Thoughts of a Colored Man, right?
That is correct. Thoughts of a Colored Man is a play by Keenan Scott II, which was directed by Steve Broadnax III. And we did the world premiere out of town
Mhm.
in 2019. It was a co-production between Syracuse Stage and Baltimore Center Stage. And they're all the characters in the show are black men. Actually, there were a couple of black women in the show when we did the world premiere, but since then it's been changed and concretized to be just the men. And all of the names of the characters are emotions. So I originated the role of anger.
Mhm.
And then, the world shut down in 2020. And thereafter in 2021, Broadway opened back up, and Thoughts of Color Man was one of the first shows to open back up with it. And I got the call that I was one of the two people who they wanted to keep from the world premiere cast to
Wow.
be on Broadway. And on Broadway, I understudied four of the principal characters, and it was it was a wild and just really beautiful time.
That's absolutely. Did you go from your time with the Thoughts of a Colored Man production right into Tina, or did you have a little downtime in between?
My wife and I went to Cartagena, Colombia.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, after Thoughts of a Color Man closed, we were like, you know what? We need a break. Let's get away. And we
Yeah.
did that. But yeah, and then there were like a few months of auditioning, but it wasn't long until Tina came along.
And what was, because I'm curious, what was your audition like?
My audition
Yeah.
was it was so good in that, oftentimes for lead roles in Broadway shows or Broadway national tours, the team will see you four, five, maybe even six times or more, because it's such an important thing to for them to see you demonstrate that you can do this, that you can do justice to this, and you can not just like make it seem good one time in an audition, but like, over and over. So I understand the mentality behind that kind of thing. And I was kind of expecting a similar process for this, but they only saw me twice. I went
Wow.
in for the first audition, and it was our associate director and the music director,
Mhm.
and I did maybe what I recall is like one scene and one song. It must have been more than that. There must have been at least like another scene in there or something. But they gave me some redirection. I did it again. They were like, "Great, how low can you sing? Let's sing down the scale with me," And then that was it. 10 minutes, if that, in and out. And then a few days later, they were like, "We want you to come in for a callback," which I did just over a week later from then. And when I came in for the callback, uh, the whole team was there. It was the director had flown in from London. Phillida Lloyd is her name. Um, Sharika Niles is our incredible associate director. Just to give another shout out. And all the producers were there. It was like everybody was there, and I had prepared 3 scenes and 3 songs. And I started with the scenes, and I was, so I would do a scene, and then Phillida would be like, "Yes, all right, let's look at the next one." I do another one, and she'd say the exact same thing, which I point out to say that I got no notes,
Yeah.
no redirection, nothing from her to say, "Well, let's try it again." And because oftentimes, in the callback, much of the point is like the director's trying to see how you take direction, right? Like
Mhm.
how you're going to work together. But she didn't do any of that for 6 pieces that I did in a row. And I'm thinking, okay, you didn't fly out here to just watch me do it. Like send you a tape if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, lo and behold, after I did that, they had me pull up a chair and interviewed me, like asked me a few questions about my thoughts on tour and playing this character. And about a week later, my manager was like, "Yeah, they want you to do it." So
Oh
it was
my gosh.
I felt like I walked in the room
Mhm.
and they were like, "We like what you're doing and we trust you." And to feel that from a creative team is amazing.
that that really is amazing. um I can't tell you how I would have been terrified getting no notes back. I can only imagine what was going through your head, but just based on that story and the way that you embody this character in the press photos that we've seen and in the short clips that were shared with us, I don't think they could have found a more perfect man for the job. I mean, really, it's so hard as an actor to step into a character that everybody knows, and everybody knows who like Turner is. How did you get ready to be this iconic human being in this amazing story?
Yeah, great question. A number of ways. I made sure I was in shape because I knew it's just a juggernaut of a show and you had to be ready for that. Get the cardio up so you can breathe and sing and say the words. Honor Katori Hall's text. Um, but I mean, the main thing was the research of the character. So I read Ike's autobiography. I
Hmm.
read a biography about Ike. I read Tina's autobiography, and that felt really important because it gave different vantage points of his story and their story together, and it's like to see if there were disagreements or misalignments about who was saying what, which
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised to find there weren't that many. It was like they both of them agreed on like most of the essential facts of their relationship, how things went down, and that kind of thing. But it was just very informative, particularly to see how he would write about his own story. That was his autobiography was the hardest part of the whole thing,
Yes.
um, because he was not a healthy man, in mind or in spirit, and to imbibe that, I would say his autobiography essentially read as um, the chronicles of a serial abuser and sexual predator who revels in his escapades. It was quite like disturbing, which was when I say that they that there weren't that many misalignments. What I mean is like Ike would say, well, yeah, I did hit her, but it was because she wouldn't speak to me. You know, it was
Yeah.
like that kind of thing, which was really disconcerting, but also very important just to take in about this person who I'm about to, play 8 shows a week. Yeah, and then from there, I looked at every video I could find of Ike, of Tina, of the Ike and Tina Turner review, of them on the road, of them at home, and just seeing who this man was. Because to your point, he was a real person who actually lived, and not just that, he was an icon, and in many people's viewpoints, and a lot of people have preconceptions about him, and knows so much, about very specifically who he was. So I did that work, and then I also replicated his voice. I would just listen to interviews and then try and say the words verbatim at the same pitch, with the same timbre, with just everything. And then, I had to marry that with what it means to like be on stage and honor Katori's text. So it kind of met somewhere in the middle,
So,
and
a
I
real easy process and not at all any hard work. Oh my gosh. You've
yeah.
put in hours and days and months and just really have been doing the work behind all of this. It's such a conflicting thing because at the beginning of the career of Ike Turner, everybody loved him and everybody really wanted this love story between the two of them to happen, and in the real world that's how they were presented, as a wonderful loving couple. And then you peel back all of the layers and he becomes essentially a villain. How do you step into that role every day and then at the end of the show step out of it and become Garrett again?
Yeah, I have a ritual that I do before every show that essentially involves a kind of meditation and prayer.
Mhm.
And the utility of that for me is I ground myself in myself, and then I give myself permission to step into Ike, this person who is manifestly not me. So that kind of grounded separation I think is really important. And then in terms of getting out of it, I actually have a motto for the show, for my show, that I've
Mhm.
shared with every dresser that I've had in every city. And the motto is, "We love Act Two." And I say that because Act One is essentially like Tina's journey, like through the Ike and Tina sort of portion of her life. And then Act Two, she has this incredible journey well beyond Ike, where she reinvents herself and really like comes into her own and finds her own sound. And that's what I love so much about our show. So it's about this like liberation. But anyway, while Tina's out there doing her thing in Act Two, I'm backstage chilling, decompressing, shall we say? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have time to sort of come down off the madness. That by the time we get to bows, I'm Gucci. It's all I'm like, what's up, y'all? Remember
Yeah.
me? We went
Like
through this thing in Act One, but like it was just me. It's okay, and we have fun to end
like
the
I
show.
promise I'm a good guy. I think that's always the challenge of becoming the villain on stage, is that you walk in and like if you're playing the Wicked Witch, like you're a nice woman, you walk on stage, all of the kids love you, and then they hear that laugh and none of the kids love you anymore. I'm sure it's the same, that you probably have been walking out of there and somebody go, "Ooh, I hated you so bad."
Yeah. And my usual response to them is, that's the correct response.
Yeah,
Like they say, like, "Oh, I wanted to boo you." I say, "Well, I deserve every boo I get." Like,
yeah.
to be
Like,
honest, just being real with people. That's how it is. But you gotta be willing to like step into that dynamic fully. I a mentor of mine, his name is Forrest McClendon,
mhm.
and he has sort of methodology of finding your way into a character, which is called choice work. And as part of that, there are like a number, this is like sort of system of questions that you go through to establish who the character is. And one of them is theme song. And so he always establishes a theme song for his character. And in taking on this system, I've been doing that for some years now as well. And the theme song for Ike is Tupac's "Me Against the World,"
Ah, that's
and that
perfect.
is the mentality you have to have. I mean, when I'm backstage getting changed to go into the final sort of big fight of Act One, and Tina's mom is on stage and she goes, "You're going to have to beat his ass like I used to beat your daddy's ass." And then thousands of people cheer simultaneously, like, "Yeah, kill him." You gotta have the mentality of, character wise, of course,
Yeah.
bring it on. It's me against the world, baby. Like, no one, everybody doubts me, everybody's against me, but bring it on. And I love that dynamic of the theater because it's really, you can feel it. It's palpable, between me and the audience until I take that bow, and then it's all fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that because I feel like that's going to be one of my questions moving forward is like what song relates to your character so well. Cuz now I just want to play that song while I'm in my car driving to come see your show just to be like I'm getting in with Garrett. That's what I'm
It's
doing.
just me against the world, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
So what's one thing, Garrett? What's one thing that you would say is a lesson that you've learned playing this role so far,
Yeah,
like a life lesson that you could take from the show?
that I can do it. That I can lead a show uh, 8 times a week while traveling across the country with my pregnant wife. Newsflash. Thank you,
Congratulations.
thank you. And I can do that. I can do it with grace while treating people as well as I'm able to the best of my capacity, from our cast to our crew, um, loving on folks while standing in my truth. And yeah, I mean, there it is difficult to explain the amount of pressures uh, and things that are asked of you, and things that will come up that you could never anticipate in a million years that you're just presented with in the midst of that process. Um, but yeah, but I think God has imbued me with the spirit, to be able to do that and do that justice. So yeah, that's what I've learned.
wow.
That's great. Let's flip that around. What do you think a life lesson the crowd, the audience who have not seen the show before, will take from the show? What do you think they're going to take out of the show?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they take that, that you can do it. that you like, it's possible to have the courage to liberate yourself, whatever that is in your life, that is standing in your way of of finding the fullness of who you are and who you are meant to be. Like, it is possible to break free, to claim your own spirit in its fullness and do it. I mean, that is Tina Turner. You know
Yeah.
what? She was from Nutbush, Tennessee. She, she grew up in poverty as a black woman in the rural South in an abusive household, and made it from there. Like, her parents left her. They left her, and she was raised by her grandmother. And she eventually made it to St. Louis and stepped out on faith in using this gift that she had, which was her voice, into into like the ride of a lifetime that was also like hellish, which she never could have known. But you know what? She went through it and she found herself along that way. And she said, I know who I am and I know where I need to be. And she got out and she scrubbed tables and took care of them kids by herself. And then she sold 200 million copies of her own music, and she was performing for stadiums full of people in across the world. I mean, you can't fake the funk. Tina Turner was the real deal, and she lets us know and makes us believe that that's possible. That it's possible.
Oh my gosh, hearing you talk about that makes me want to like get up right now and go outside and do something. Like I feel like you believe it so much in your soul, you make me want to get out and do it too.
Hey, that's what our show will make you do. I promise, yo. It's amazing to see that story, play out before your eyes. It's really
That
beautiful.
that is absolutely wonderful. I'm so excited to come and see you. You're going to be here as part of the KeyBank Broadway series at Connor Palace Playhouse Square, April 25th through May 14th. So we get a lot of chances to come and see you on stage. I might have to come back 2 or 3 times now talking to you after this. Like, wow, what a truly amazing experience. I have to ask though, because it's something I love to ask of people. When baby Garrett was getting involved in theater out in the world, what was one of the first shows that you stepped on stage and went, oh, I could do this? What was your inspiring moment?
Fascinating. And are you asking about shows that I saw or shows that I was in, or both?
Shows, I mean, it could be either. I typically like to know shows that you were in, like one of the ones that started your bug of theater.
Yeah, Charlotte's Web.
Really?
That was the first play I ever did, and I went to a very small private Christian high school in the Bible Belt in Alabama. I'm from Florence, Alabama, and we would have a senior play every year. Every year, the senior class, like as a whole, would put on a play, and there
Mhm.
were only like 50 people in my class. So it was the kind of thing that you could do, and everyone could play a little role or whatever. And Jeremy Painter, shout out to Jeremy Painter. He directed us in Charlotte's Web, and I played Templeton the rat. And I was like, I just remember one scene I went on. I don't know, I don't remember what it is, but I said my last line, and I went like, and I slinked away.
Yeah.
And as I was slinking away, I got exit applause, and I was like, oh, this feels nice, And you don't get exit applause in English class like that.
Right? Like, oh, I could
So
have people clap for me. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that was fun. And then the summer after my senior year of high school, I did a community theater production of Beauty and the Beast when I played Lumiere. And that
Nice.
was another. Those two kind of back to back were like, okay, this thing is really cool. Now I didn't like go on to major in theater, and I didn't make a choice to pursue it professionally until I was in my 20s. Like later on when I had moved, overseas for grad school. But that I think sent me off on the path.
That's so cool. I love hearing about that because I like to think about how every actor who has gotten to do the amazing things that you have to be on Broadway, to be in the touring cast, to originate roles. I read on your biography sheet that also you are writing your own show. All of those things had to start somewhere, and it is very frequently the high school show or the community theater, and I feel like that empowers people to go out and audition for their local spots.
Yeah, it remains very important, and it remains sad the way that kind of um, arts sphere has been gutted in a lot of communities, across the nation. But it's yeah, I mean it's so important. Not solely because it can send people off on career paths, but because it like brings light to people and grounds people in terms of who they are, and education in school. It's a wonderful way to learn so many social skills, or just a lot of there's so many things that can be gleaned from that. So I'm very happy that I was blessed to have those opportunities.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So one thing I do like to ask Garrett is, do you have advice that you give to newer actors who go out on tours? Like, what's the one thing that you would give to new actors going on tours?
Get some sleep. Yo, travel with your wife or your partner if you're able. Like when I tell you, Bonita Jackson Turner has been my rock on this tour, and kept me sane at so many moments, when I was tempted to tilt off the axis. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so much I could say. Zurin Villanueva is one of our Tinas, in the show, and she has toured before, and she calls it the vortex,
Mhm.
because it's just its own reality. I mean, it's so difficult, particularly like a juggernaut musical like Tina. It takes so much energy to do, at all, right? Much less 8 shows a week. Much less 8 shows a week when you're traveling to a new city every week. It's like you really have to just find a way to stay grounded. And another piece of advice that someone gave me, before coming on this tour, is that essentially don't make the show your everything or your only thing.
Mm.
You find something to do during the days that keeps you grounded outside of it. And it can be writing a show. It could be, if you're just really big on working out and making sure you stay up on that regimen. It could be any number of things. But like, don't just like sit in your hotel room and like wait for the show to happen. Just be out there, live, do an adventure, at least one adventure in every city. That was, something that Bonita and I, decided to do, and has been really great. So, yeah, those are some of the things I would say.
That's
That's
awesome. Well,
amazing.
Garrett, thank you so much for joining us. Garrett will be in Cleveland in a couple weeks, April 25th through May 14th, with Tina, the Tina Turner musical, a part of the KeyBank Broadway series. Great tickets are still available at playhousesquare.org. Garrett, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. It was an awesome conversation. It was great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having me. This was beautiful, and I really appreciate y'all. Can't wait.
Absolutely.
And a special
Stage door.
preview. Yeah, it's going to be great. A special preview thanks to our friends at Playhouse Square. Here is a preview of the show coming up. And remember to come see Garrett and the entire cast of Tina here April 25th through May 14th. Thanks, y'all. Have a great week. We'll see y'all next week, where we talk to David Green from Playhouse Square about the 2023-2024 KeyBank Broadway series and the Akron Broadway series. So that's exciting. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Have a great week. Garrett, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.